Hello and welcome back to the College Con playoffs. Sorry for the little bit of the bait earlier today, but now we're going on with our regularly scheduled program as we're jumping to the losers bracket. We'll be dealing with the University of Tennesse at Knoxville going up against RIT. On my hold shift with me is Infinity like we had before, but this time we're going to go forward with our match because all of our players are ready to go in the lobby, but we need to give these guys their due diligence. Again, this is a losers bracket round one game. Both teams went up against some mammoth of squads in the first round. RIT played up against Full Sail. Not easy to do. UTK played up against Penn State White. Not an easy opponent by any stretch of the imagination. So now they unfortunately meet here in losers round one. But again, it should be a pretty close matchup as we take a look at our rosters here. Take a look as far as what we're going to anticipate the 10 players coming into the lobby will be. UTK, again, this is a team that we're familiar with. We've seen them a handful of times on stream so far this year. Stainless, Slim, Goose, Condog, and C Short. And again, the big player that I'm looking out for here is that main AR Slayer of Condog.
Yeah, Condog, I think he's had a fair few highlight clips across the season. He's obviously the name that I'm actually familiar with. And of course, on the other side of things, you've got RIT Esports. I'm going to try and say some of these names. I could be incorrect saying them, and I'll probably get nagged at on Twitter for this. But I think it's Meville, Stuponso, I don't know.
Stuponso. Think about it in
Stu Ponzu?
Ponzu. There you go.
All right. Yeah, maybe he's going to be poning some people here. I don't know. Joined by Bota, Super, and Rob Stones. That's going to be the RIT Esports side. And these two come in with quite high seeds, right? Of course, the 21st seed for UTK, the 26th seed for RIT Esports. And therefore, it's technically speaking not a surprise that they are in the losers bracket after their first round losses against Full Sail and Penn State White, respectively. But still, you know, you look at these two rosters, someone's going to go out in the losers round one here. I don't know who it's going to be because, again, these guys are kind of even, right? You take a look at their records across the season. UTK, they have what as an 11-7 record. RIT are 11-6. So, again, these two teams, very, very similar.
Very much so the case. And if we could get a little bit more of a breakdown looking at this Tennesse squad, these guys have, again, been kind of through the gauntlet, through the ringer, if you will, mostly because, they were in the Southeastern Division, but more importantly, they started off their season with 3 Game 5s versus Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech, and Alabama, 2 of which were reverse sweeps against them. And after they played through then Georgia Southern, they made the sub in for C Short to get into the mix. And that's when the winning streak kicks off. The only other match that they dropped in the regular season after they brought C Short in was that match versus Full Sail. But you take a look at some of the rankings across the board here. Their biggest strength obviously sits in the ballpark of their hard point. Although I will say, even though they're ranked 21st with a 16-8 record with a pretty hefty point differential versus the other playoff teams in the Southeastern Division, they're just 6-7. But even in that 6-7 win-loss ratio, they only hold a minus 14 point differential. Again, kind of going to show that when they do lose, it's usually at a pretty tight margin.
Yeah, that's not bad whatsoever, is it really? And that amount of points, you lose by that. It just takes a couple of more mistakes maybe that you need to fix in those hard point games for you to win those maps at the end of the day, right? I mean, you tighten up your gameplay a little bit, you go for those rotations that are tighter, 20 seconds, and you maybe are going to come out on top in those matches. So that maybe is where UTK definitely need to improve. And for me, though, you look at these stats and they're not actually that bad, to be honest. I mean, you got what would be a 2 KD, I suppose, for hardpoint with 16-8, search and destroy 14-6. That to me, I think is probably the most impressive statistic here. I mean, you're 20th in terms of ranking off the back of that, but still, obviously a pretty good search and destroy team. Domination, I think, is where my biggest concern for this team would be. And again, 10-7 overall. Yeah, you're positive, but it's honestly not that great. And I think what the average point difference there is actually +6. That's not a great stat.
No, as we take a look at RIT, I think you're going to see some of those woes kind of mimicked, but also re-emphasized here, as their biggest strength so far throughout the season has been their search and destroy. In specific, obviously they rank 17th from what they did in the regular season, but versus playoff teams in the Northeast and versus Full Sail, they're actually 5-3 in total with a still positive differential in the search. The concern for me as we look at this map pool specifically, it's their respawn. They're 3-9 versus other playoff teams with a minus 35 point differential. Not good. But worse than that, is they're 1-7 in domination versus other playoff teams. And again, the reason why I keep bringing that statistic up as versus other playoff teams is, let's be candid, some of the squads that some of these guys played up against are brand new to trying to compete in Call of Duty. Some of the records that some of these teams put up this year were similar to what RIT did last year. Again, they were not a good team last year, and now all of a sudden they're in the playoffs in a potential spot to move past losers round 1 versus UTK. So that growth is substantial. And once you kind of gear your team up for trying to know what you're essentially going to be facing with, that's when you start to see progress. And RIT has kind of showcased that. But even still, the reason why I like to bring up that playoff specific stat versus playoff teams or in playoffs specifically is because, again, it's a different caliber of opponent that you're playing up against than, say, Finger Lakes College, who was just kind of putting on a show for just being here. So as we again cut back to us here and take a look at our map series set, Azir Cave is map number 1. This is not bad for RIT. They've got a lot of experience on this map, but the problem is so does UTK. And this is all going to come down to, will Condog take this map over?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the stats, right? UTK, they're 4-1 on Azir Cave Hardpoint. They absolutely have the advantage here. They have the edge. Again, I guess you can only take so much from that because, as you sort of mentioned earlier on, these teams have varying different levels, I guess, of skill in their pools. So again, you can only take so much from it, but still, I think it does say something that Azir Cave, they were 4-1, UTK were 4-1, RIT 4-5, actually negative. On this map set. I think Arc of Peak Search and Destroy, again, that's kind of, as we move on in the series, it will look a little bit different. What UTK have only played this map 3 times throughout the regular season. They were 2-1 and RIT were 4-3. So we'll talk about that when it comes to it. For now, though, UTK and RIT shift, here we are. We're right into the series. We're going to kick things off on Azir Cave Hardpoint. Now, this map is kind of very odd. I think this is like the ugly, I guess, Dutchman of the Call of Duty map set, rotation, whatever you want to call it. Because this is one of the only maps in the game where you're going to see more ARs, I suppose, than you normally would.
That's absolutely true. You figured there's going to be probably about 3. That's usually what we're seeing at the top amateur and pro level. Will that be mimicked here? The question still stands, as we'll get UTK in the orange first. They'll actually be the ones tasked with trying to break through the hard point and make their way over to the right side of that mini-map. If you take your eyes with you from the bottom left, in the top right corner, that's where that second hard point spawns up, and you can already see C-Short has made his way through that cave system and has already flipped the spawns out. So for RIT, not the greatest of starts for them. Yeah, they're not necessarily down in the score early, but because they've gotten broken on these backside spawns, they're looking at a differential that's not favoring them on the first hard point. Plus, now they've got to find a way to re-break through for this big second hard point.
And I think already here, 60 seconds in, you're already starting to see one of the characteristics of Azir Cave Hardpoint, right? This map is so rotation heavy. It is so rotation heavy. You can gate for those back spawns, as UTK have done, and it doesn't guarantee you a full 60. Of course, you still need to win these gunfights, these supporting gunfights around the hard point, but still, it sets you up pretty nicely for a good hold. I'm unsure about this from RIT, going straight for a one-dimensional attack through one line of sight. Condog is going to have a field day there, picks up a beautiful 2-piece with that M4A1. And RIT Esports here, you can see they haven't exactly had the best time breaking the hill, but again, when you're only coming down one line of sight, that's probably not the best thing.
And even when that one line of sight is not smoke, you see it is starting to kind of embellish that cave system now, but if they would have been able to smoke off Condog, maybe that hit becomes more successful. Now you're in the final scrap 20 seconds worth of time, and RIT have to put some consideration over to that next rotation, which will be by the soccer field on the bottom middle of your mini-map. And again, this is not a great start for RIT, losing the spawns. Again, they chose to spawn on what is a lot of people say will be the favored side of the map, getting those P2 sides initially. So now that you're down 60 plus points, not what you want to see. At least they've got the initial time started for soccer, but they're not in a position to zone off the map, and this is going to actually allow UTK to contest this hill relatively quickly.
UTK going to try and contest the hard point. This is a good opportunity for RIT to get right back into the game. They need 40 seconds of time to tie this game up against UTK. Not right now. They are earning it. You've got Meevil in a rather advanced position. He could be really crucial to the hold for UTK. Gets that first kill. Going to get turned around on, though, as Goosefab are going to take them down. And now you're going to start to see UTK really coming. Rebel C-Short picks up a great 2-piece. On a killing spree, he is removing these RIT members from the map. Going to lose that gunfight, but again, not really going to matter in the grand scheme of things. These 20 seconds, I feel, will probably go UTK's way. Actually, as I say it, never mind. I've eaten my own words. It's super... Stu Ponju and Meevil pick up their respective gunfights. Not only do they get the scrap time here, Shiv, but more importantly, they win those rotational battles as we go over towards Cave West.
Yeah, the timing of this was actually really good for RIT, but again, for me, it just comes down to, are you going to zone this hill accordingly? Because you need to get up further in this cave system where currently Boater is actually existing. He's found 2 kills, so he's done well to hold off the initial push. There has been some information given that C-Shirt was trying to make a playthrough well. Super will realize that his threat has been neutralized, and now turn his attention back over to the workbench. And again, RIT finding a favored kill feed all the way through, and are now starting to actually not just zone up the front part of the hill, but you've also got number 8 and Boater, who's hitting a little bit of a flank, and that'll do well to pinch up the hill again. UTK have been completely thwarted out on the tail half of the 3rd hard point, and this is looking like it might just be close to a full 60 for RIT at the 4th.
This has been a great break from RIT and a great hold here off the back of Cave West. They will take the lead off the back of this hard point, but now we move over towards the next hill. It'll be the last hill in the rotation, and it is currently UTK with control of those spawns. They win those spawn fights. They have control of Useless. Let's see if they can hold it down, as now you're going to start to see these RIT guys starting to move through the cave. Gunfights being won. Meeble picks up a great 2-piece, but still round the back. That's where really the gunfights are going to matter. As Slim still holding the spawns down for a UTK, and gunfights being won. This is good for UTK. You win some of those spawn gunfights. It doesn't even really matter what happens at the front of the hill. Yeah, you want to still hold on to it, but you can still hold on those spawns. You can still continue to apply the pressure. But for now, UTK winning these fights, throwing all that utility out. RIT going to go through this one lane once again. And again, I feel like this is what the 2nd time we've seen it here. I'm not trying to rag on RIT too much because they did a great job at the back of Cave West. But still, you have to have a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional attack. You cannot be going down one line of sight.
And again, props to UTK on the other side, because Goose is playing in a position that actually shuts down any potential rotation back through the middle cave. So that's actually a good position for him to get the information and shut down the potential of that 2nd dimension coming into play. So we'll conclude our first rotations of hills. It'll be right around 145 to 99. Not a bad margin for RIT, like you mentioned, Infinity, simply due to the fact that the first hard point was not great for them. The 2nd hard point was definitely not good for them, but they were able to turn things around in the 3rd and the 4th, keeping this relatively close. They're going to exist on the center town area for at least the initial bit of time for the first 15 seconds, but you see the kill feed all turning up orange for the Volunteers, and with that, UTK will be in a position to at least contest, if not potentially break this first hard point for some more time.
UTK looking to break their way in. Unfortunately for them, I don't think that's going to happen. RIT with about 30 seconds left for the hill. Even now, you're going to start to see UTK make that rotation. They give up a world of time to RIT. Actually, probably enough to get... Never mind. I talked too soon. Once more, as Stainless picks a 2-piece up in the mid-map. Able to get control is UTK, but of course, RIT going to fight right back for those last 13 seconds of time. But that is going to ensure, at least, that UTK do hold this spawn, do hold the win off the back of that hard point. Let's see now what happens as we move over towards Cave East. On the first rotation shift, it was UTK holding down the spawns for basically the entirety amount of time. RIT, I think, made that mistake of coming through just the one lane, and of course, as you actually mentioned, not smoking it to breaking. This time, though, Boda comes in, picks up 2. C-Short is going to trade that one out, and Slim gets yet another kill. But I do like this from RIT. They aren't just going for a one-dimensional attack. They're going down multiple lanes. They're learning from their mistakes. Unfortunately, right now, though, they're just not winning their fights.
But this is a good opportunity. They're going to not just have a hit from the middle or from the cave, but they're also got Boater who's swapped his way back to the backside, which is going to stop the reinforcements from getting here. You have to flood Goose. You need to get into the hill now. He'll do just that. Rob showing a good position from Concrete. He will find himself another kill. He's on 3 straight, and he'll be in a position to try to hold off this pushback from the sandbag side. Yes, they're not necessarily getting the full amount of time that they necessarily wanted, but one more hit will come through for a couple more seconds, and while they were trying to contest this hill, they stopped UTK from getting a free back 30. So again, 183, 146 the score. Very tight game here, and this is where RIT needs to continue to find their favor. You need to have a good soccer field into this Cave West system. You need to set up this 3rd and 4th hard point correctly if you want to try to retake this lead.
UTK do have a short advantage over RIT, but that lead could dissipate any second now, as you say, Shift. As RIT, they have control of the football field. I ain't calling it a soccer field. We're British over here. And RIT now looking for this hole. C-Short now going to go for this first kill. Unfortunately for UTK, though, RIT are holding strong. Slim's going to get 2 before being taken down, and maybe some resistance now coming RIT's way as UTK making their way towards the hardpoint boost. Father picks up a beautiful 2-piece. Unfortunately for Team Nation, Stainless is going to shut down that initial push, but it is enough for UTK. Stainless now inside the hill. They will break for the last 15 seconds of time. But more importantly, Shift, we're going to see some of these rotational gunfights as Slim picks up, as you say, a big kill against Robsto. There is still a chance here for Slim, picks up a second, but does open the door potentially for UTK to make a break. I don't think it's going to happen. It is RIT who are there for this rotation.
And again, UTK kind of just gave up another rotation here. They have spawned in the middle of the map right near yellow, and 3 members were starting to go through Main Street as if to say, let's play for this guy exiting off the hill, but they don't read correctly that it's only 1 member from RIT who's actually holding that hill. Fortunately, a couple of gunfights turned up in their favor. Here comes a pinch once again from Boater. He's playing this so beautifully, and you can see exactly what this does. UTK has no idea where to look. They've been cut into 2 pieces. Boater comes through. He's going to try to find this final kill. He will not grab it, but now it's Super who's on the pinch, which does get picked up this time, and UTK will once again cement themselves on the hill as they will inch closer and closer towards that 250 mark.
Condog now on a 5 spree, looking to hold the remainder of this time. Has another kill right in front of him. Going to miss the shot. The pistol, surely not going to happen. That would have been a beautiful kill to make. But that does mean, of course, that Robstar is going to win that scrap time for RIT. But more importantly, Shift, we have this rotation over towards UTK, over towards the 5th and final hill on the rotation, potentially the final hill in this game. As UTK, they can close it out here. Last time, RIT, they had a bit of a one-dimensional attack. They went straight down the cliff face. They need to learn from that here. They've only got 18 seconds to jump into the hill. UTK, they're holding all of this time. They're winning all these fights. And RIT now going to try and make their way in. Super picks up 1, picks up 2, breaks his way into the hill. And now maybe a shining light at the end of the tunnel here as RIT wins some beautiful kills. Robstar picks up 3, and RIT have forced their way back into this hard point, and they may not have the spawn shift, but they could still stop UTK here.
That's the thing. You just have to put a pause to this. You're not going to win the game, obviously, but if you could keep UTK from winning it and still keep a spawn trap in place, you can set yourself up for a late comeback here, but Robstar cannot come back there. Connor goes big as he finds 3, Goose the 4th. One more player will have to try to touch it. They just won't quite get there in time. University of Tennesse at Knoxville take the Azir Cave 250 to 216.
Wow, what a close game there. And I think right from the off, actually, RIT had some really shining moments. I feel like what you talked about, that first rotation, what they're able to get, which was essentially back-to-back football field, and then Cave West, and that was pretty nice. And from that point onwards, you could kind of feel like that was going to be a super duper close game. But statistically speaking, what a game from Condog. Ends up with 32 kills in the end, 20 deaths. That's a total of 52 engagements with an AR, no less, I believe. So pretty good performance from them. You look at the other side though, RIT, again, not the most stunning stats. Meevil, I believe, is the main AR for this roster, turns up with 31 kills. Of course, I mean, if you're the main AR of any roster and you don't turn up on Azir Cave, you probably shouldn't be the main AR anyway. But yeah, great performance out of UTK there. I feel like in the moments where it really mattered, I think they just kind of outrun RIT for those rotations.
And, you know, if you look back at when this RIT squad played Full Sail yesterday, they had a tight one versus Full Sail on this map. It was a 210 to 250. This one a 216 to 250. And I wouldn't be surprised if the map yesterday looked just like this one here, just based on how they were kind of playing things. Again, getting broken off the rip is, again, here's the deal. If you hold spawns off the rip for P2, you probably win this game if you're RIT. Simply put, the fact that they got broken so quickly led to a very disastrous start to this game, and it forced them to play catch up. And then you kind of go back to how that P4, P5 in the second rotation went. Again, not able to fully replicate what they did the first time through, but a tight one all the way through. And again, like you mentioned, it wasn't just Meeble, but Robstar had a couple of big moments as well. We figured that those 2 guys are likely going to be mostly using those ARs like you mentioned. And as we get to Arklov Peak, I assimilate and kind of assume that those things will occur again here as far as who will be taking what weapons into the mix. Now, the thing that I cannot necessarily say to you for RIT, simply because we have not seen them all that often, is what kind of presence do they have on a map like Arklov Peak with a sniper rifle? Because you figure it's going to have to come out playing up against a squad like UTK who desperately trusts their sniper rifle gameplay and search.
I would say the sniper rifle thing, you know, in terms of Arklov Peak search and destroy at the moment, right? I mean, before the change where we went obviously from 2-minute search and destroy rounds to 1 minute 30, this was a map that was essentially placed all on that A-bomb site, right? I mean, B never saw play like at all, right? Because teams had all the time in the world to go straight down that long, and they had so much time to work with. Now I think that, this map has really opened up with 1 minute 30 rounds for teams to make their way over to the B site. And I think that maybe is the way around it. Even if, as we say, we don't really know if they have a sniper rifle presence. But even if they don't, you could still technically just rush your way towards the B site. And I think that maybe is the way to go about it. But again, for me, I think you kind of do hit the nail on the head there, that at the end of the day, this is going to come down to sniper rifle play. Sniper rifles are so prevalent on Arc Peak Search and Destroy. I mean, you could probably set smoke your way through the sniper rifles, of course, because thermal snipers are GA'd, I think, or they might be banned entirely.
No, yeah, I think they're banned entirely.
They're just banned entirely. I mean, there you go then. So I think you could probably get around it by just put some set smokes down, but it's whether or not these teams have practiced those set smokes, have you got the idea down that the sniper rifle is going to be in the top building, you have smokes down, and then you can access your A-bomb site that way. But still, I absolutely do agree with you. I do think this is going to be a sniper versus sniper battle.
And for me, again, we talked about it at the top of this matchup, highlighting it once more. This has to be the map and mode that RIT take. They're more experienced at Arcloft Peak. They're a better search and destroy team statistically. You have to win this one because you do not want to go 0-2 down to UTK when you still have to play 2 more respawns back-to-back. Your chances of sending this to a map 5 become very dire and desperate in a reverse sweep fashion. So this is a must-win map in my mind for RIT. And it will be UTK. The Volunteers off first to their offense. It looks like, you mentioned it, minute 30, a lot of more stacks towards B tend to happen. And that's exactly the case here as the Volunteers are posturing for a B hit.
UTK now making their way over towards B. It is quite a slow push. Just need to be making careful that nobody from RIT is over there with a sniper rifle. Now, this is actually one of those sniper rifle presences over towards B. Generally speaking, you have a player sitting to the right of where Slim is actually looking right now. She thought they was going to pick up that first blood against Super, and now potentially opening up a way for them to move in to this B side. And I think the thing is for RIT here is you still need to have a presence over towards A, which they currently do in the form of Botan, who makes a great kill in the mid-map against Condog. That's now going to even the odds. And since RIT have essentially swarmed what is going to be the giant field, UTK just cannot find their way in just yet, Shift. This is a very, very slow one for UTK. There's only 20 seconds left in the round. They need to go now, and this could be it. Slim picks up that first kill against Meeble. Stainless has a one-on-one inside the house to win, and this is a big risk to make. Stainless is inside this house, has no support.
Oh, no.
If Robstro just picks up this... Robstro just pick up the kill, just jump up. They do get it. But still now a 3 versus 3, a 2 versus 3 for Boda and Stu Ponju, but they are now need to defend this bomb site, 1 man down.
And it's one of those situations that you're right there, Rob. Sure, just check to see if you killed the bomb carrier. That's the round. There's not enough time for anyone else to come back open and pick up the bomb and plant. So now you're in what is a 2v2. Boda, nice snap on to Goose, but you still have C-Start to deal with, and they do. So a salvage round for RIT, but I think objectively you look back at that time on the clock for Robshow playing in that position behind the bar, you just got to check. And if you kill the bomb carrier there before that bomb gets planted, you secure that round much easier. But again, a solid retake here for RIT on the full committal to rotate from A to B and stack heavy.
Good stuff there from RIT for the retake, of course. UTK, they did the right thing, in my opinion, right? I mean, you go for that rotation towards B, and it works out immediately, at least. I think you do get a little bit lucky that Robstro doesn't peek that bomb. But still, you get it down. Unfortunately for them, though, Boda and Stu Ponju are going to win the 2 versus 3 and retake the site. Now, though, we switch sides. And RIT Esports here are on the offense. And they've gone for this a little bit differently. Straight towards B. Now we're surely going to get to see some of this sniper rifle play. I believe Goosefather has it for UTK. Meevil has the sniper rifle for RIT. And here's some of those smokes down. I said about the set smokes. We're going to see it here from RIT Esports. They put one down inside the trench. It's going to allow Boda to move their way up pretty much unrivaled. Although there is still one player to be careful of. It's going to be Stainless. Meevil spots him out. Doesn't just get the kill just yet.
And watch out for this long flank from Slim. He's made his way past Stu. But has he found himself in between two opponents? He sure has. Stu finds the kill. Super another in RIT. Good start to this offensive round for them as they're up to a 5v now 2 as Super finds a second. Connor will try to open things up for UTK, but it's C-Short and Condog playing this together from the A house, and that's not where you want to be. And you're looking at a lot of nades that are just going to be thrown right their direction, and well, that'll be about the end of it there. A very clean round, though, for RIT. You called it exactly right, Brody. The smoke to cover off the trench, the push through, plus the ability to cut off anything coming from that hostile window was beautifully done for RIT, and they find themselves up very quickly here 2-0.
Alrighty, RIT, they're doing pretty well now. 2-0 towards the start of this game. Let's see if UTK can change that as we move forward. Now they're once again on the offense. Now their B push didn't exactly work for them last time around. I think they were a little too slow with it. And again, they even got very lucky that Rob Stowe didn't peek the bomb in that one-on-one engagement inside the house. So UTK going to go something a little bit different here, straight towards A. Let's see if they're as good with their smoke placement, or if they're even going to throw any smokes out. For now, it doesn't seem so, as Meevil actually going to be able to take Condor off the back of that. And that's why you smoke bombs, because you need to cover from the sniper rifle. Meevil now picks this push away, and you feel like maybe this push towards the A site is going to slow down somewhat.
And it's one of those things that for UTK, you know, if you're going to trust your sniper to be watching through trench, there's no reason not to smoke. And goodness, they almost give Meevil a third opportunity. I mean, boys and girls, this is not Warzone. You don't have a gulag. You don't have a buyback. Sniper rifles, yes, those flashes will punish you. And RIT is now in a position to be up 5 versus 3. Goosefava finally going to take the challenge over the top of the A site, but there's just not enough time to make this 3v5 occur unless Goose finds not just one, but likely a second pick. Stainless with the bomb will fall. Goose, hello? You see one out there tanning. Okay, finally takes down Robstra, but Meevil finds his 3rd kill in the round, and RIT is going to hold this once more.
I don't know, man. I feel like Goose might have some blue tack on his screen or something. I don't know how he didn't see that player for the longest time there. RIT, of course, though, I think those early round picks really had that one in the bag from the outset, to be honest. And that's why you put smokes down. Again, you know, I already said it, but you do need to put smokes down. If not, that happens. And again, now it kind of feels like already we're 3 rounds in, and RIT, they're doing so much better than UTK. UTK just need to change something up. Maybe, I don't know if they do have preset strategy. I presume they do. They're at this stage of the playoffs already. Yeah. But still, I need to see something good from UTK. Let's see if they can win this first defensive round here as RIT now make their move towards A. And look how aggressive Meevil is being with his sniper rifle now, just edging their way up top for that fight and wins it. Excuse me, snap. Is going to take one player down. RIT now in a 5 versus 4. UTK have 1 player left defending the A site. It is just going to be Stainless. The shots go down. Boda gets across the site. And actually, Stainless landing the Semtex. This is rather going well for UTK. They have dealt with the initial wave of kills from RIT. And the bomb is now stranded on the site.
And again, there's the flank from Slim all the way from the B site. And now everyone pinched up. But this is still a doable 2v3. I was about to say that because there were individual 1v1s that were about to come through. But Supa loses the first. Robstro's been tagged up by a stun, and UTK will finally take their first round. But still, 1-3 total. I mean, you go down 4-1 if you're UTK, that's not good. And this is a map that, again, just naturally lends itself to be heavily defensively sided. So you need to find a way here if you're Tennessee to break through and crack the code of how do you get a successful offense going, because you're going to need at least 1, if not 2, just to keep this game level, if not retake the lead in the late stages of this map.
All right, so you now 3-1 up over UTK. UTK have won a round, though, so there is that. Maybe this could be the start of something special for UTK Esports. Let's see what they can do with it. Of course, it's now once again on the offense. It's going to be bomb in hand for Stainless. And again, it is this slow push towards B. I feel like you maybe need something a little bit more venomous to make this one work. It didn't work in round number 1. Now Slim making their way slowly up the mid-map. Goosefava is looking for these snipes over towards A. And to be fair, if Goosefava does get a pick over towards A, it could potentially open up a potential for a rotation. I don't really know if that's what UTK are going for here. You can kind of see Stainless hanging back with that bomb thinking, look, maybe A's going to open up any second now.
Someone get Goose a cup of coffee. He has looked at people twice as if he was just very sleepily just kind of fighting his way. But how about this? C-Shirt will make his way right behind Boda. That's a nice pick as Condog found his second. And now RIT kind of caught between a rock and a hard place of how do we make this rotation back over to A, knowing that C-Short is in our hostile building. Meevil's going to have to find a pick, and it's going to have to be by way of the Deagle. And the timing is atrocious. He's going to have a play right behind him. Oh, my goodness. Okay. New life in the lungs here for RIT in a 3v3. The bomb's been planted. Timer will reset back to 45 seconds. That has dwindled to 33. But as Supa and Stu are making their way through the A cut, they very well could catch one off guard here if Condog's not careful. Meevil's going to try to find the pinch. Does get cut down before he makes the full kill come to life. Long-range shots. Connor will find it. Stu in a 1v2 and not a lot of time to play.
No pony being done there by Stu, but oh my goodness. If that round would have been won by RIT off the back of that Deagle turn on from Meeble, I honestly would have left the room. I'd have been done. That would have just been an incredible performance from RIT. Fortunately, UTK do not fall off the back of it. They hold strong onto the site, and that is a great defensive play from UTK. I think they finally found their feet in this one. Maybe as Gustavo can start to really, keep his eyes on his screen, this would be a good start. But who knows for UTK, as they're now going to be on defense once again. It is RIT with the bomb in hand. Let's see where they take it. Bomb, of course, in the back pocket of Bota. And it will be a B push off the start here from RIT.
Yeah, this will be our first really solid look at RIT trying to make this play occur. You see Robstro still kind of being a distraction at A, trying to keep the defense of UTK planted. And now Meeble taking his sniper rifle out towards the cemetery. There's nobody watching from the snow path. So this is a free entry from the side window until Slim will actually just be holding a tight corner. He'll find one. You figure there's no way he's going to be allowed to exit, but he does slip his way back into the window. Meeble knows where he's at, goes for a wall bang, and the timing of that pick, not quite there. Supa has recollected the bomb, but UTK's defense has made it shift over to B, and they have not dropped a single member yet as it's a 5v2 for the Vols.
Supa maybe making something of this. Nope, not going to happen now. It's down to Robstro in a 1 versus 4, and this is still possible for Robstro. Let's see what he can do with it. Does pick up the first kill against Stainless, but of course, no silencer on that weapon means that Robstro's location is going to be known. 20 seconds left in this round now. Robstro's got to go and pick up the bomb, going to plant it on a site, or eliminate the entirety of their opposition in one fell swoop. I definitely know which one of those is more unlikely. Robstro now going to open the door. That's going to make a hell of a lot of noise. Doesn't even get the first kill, gets shot at from 2 different angles. Trying to play a war on 2 fronts. And UTK, man, they've come back into this one. They were 3-0 down in the search and destroy, 3 rounds straight. I think they've really tightened up here, Shift. They've looked a lot better.
But again, it's one of those things that UTK finds a successful offense. So you go from a defense to an offense to a defense, you turn things through nicely, and now we're evened again. But I will still say that it does feel like RIT, even though it is a dead even game on the scoreboard, it feels like they're controlling the map much better than the Vols are right now. So I would say at the moment, it's pretty fortunate the Volunteers are in a 3-3 tie, considering the fact that the long-range battles mostly have been turning up in favor of RIT. So will that continue to be the case, or will there be a little bit of momentum being pushed here? If UTK can find a win here on this offense, it would be massive for them to not just retake the lead, but again, try to put a change in the tempo. Supa long range will find 1. Is he going to take a second peek? He will. Goose not able to hit the shot. And now all of a sudden, RIT's defense is forced to stand tall here at B, of which they do a pretty solid job, at least for now. But it is going to be a 3v3, as a couple more shots will be exchanged. Stu wants to make his way onto the bomb site. He'll be allowed to do that. And Boater, again, from the middle of the map, will find another key pickup as he takes down the middle rotation from UTK, now giving a numbers advantage to the Tigers of RIT.
And I will say one thing for sure, UTK that looks a tiny bit shaky on their offensive list. Maybe not anymore. Condor going to take the head off Meeble. Gustavo needs to win this one-on-one engagement. Stu, of course, not making the same mistake Robstro did previously, and actually going to stand on the right side of that bar, looking at the site. UTK, this is sneaky. This is so sneaky, Shift. They make their rotation right round the back of B, under the noses of RIT, and they will get this bomb down on A, I feel. I don't think either Stu or Bota are really going to recognize this push before the bomb goes down. So this will be a reactionary play. Bota and Stu will know this bomb goes down. 45 seconds now to defuse this bomb. A nade almost thrown out from Bota, thinks better of it. Doesn't want to reveal their position as they re-enter this site. Stu. Surely not. This could be a great pinch from Bota and Stu if they push it together, if they push it at the right time. You really, really have to make sure that you put this together correctly. 25 seconds now for Stu and Bota to make this work, Shift.
Yeah.
UTK. Oh man, they're just so scared, you can tell.
Stu doesn't have that silence yet. That's with the big hesitation, and Bota with a trophy system isn't really allowed to move quickly. Now he's going to smoke, make the play through trench. It'll isolate at least one line of sight, but there's just not enough time. And that was just a little bit unfortunate. I think the timing was just a touch off. Again, you mentioned the nade getting cooked up for a second there of the Semtex wanting to make the play, as I think Bota realized, hey, there's only 8 seconds left. No one's on the B site. We should probably think about A here, friend. If they would have made that call just a split second sooner, maybe that Semtex either A, stops the plant from coming through, or B, finds a kill on the exit. But it will not occur today. And UTK, like you mentioned, very sneaky, disguise their push, moving through the backside of B to rotate back over to A. They get the bomb down, and now that's not just 2 offenses in a row, but that's 3 rounds in a row for UTK, leading to now them at a 4-3 total.
UTK, 4 rounds straight, man. They are coming back to back to back to back here. And RIT, for all of the great start that they had, just has kind of dissipated somewhat. I think they've really run out of steam. Meeville's snipers have definitely, I think, quietened down somewhat. That was really, I think, catastrophic for a UTK, but Meeville not going to get any first snipes here. In fact, it will be Snoo drawing first blood in this game. Snoo's not Snoo. And RIT now looking to further that advantage. Sorry, UTK looking to that advantage. RIT now making their way towards the A site. Boda going to pick up a second kill against Goosefabber. And now UTK here going to have to work for a hero play from Slim on the flank. Does pick up a second kill right in front of him on the plate. Unfortunately, not going to gobble that one up. And RIT now in a 3 versus 2 scenarios. Condog and C-Short here on the defense. Not really looking all that hot, but Condog does pick up one. C-Short picks up one as well. And I'll tell you what, Shift, this is still possible.
Yeah, it's all 2 1v1s, and that's a beautiful play from Connor on the back off screen. But yeah, it looked like by the positioning on the minimap that RIT would have had a 2v1 versus Connor, but they don't really recognize where he was positioned, and Connor comes up big for the 2 kills on the hostile side, leaving Short to just deal with the last, and all of a sudden UTK put themselves up 5-3, 4 rounds in a row. And like we mentioned, and it merits being re-hit one more time here, this map, it feels like it's a must-win situation for RIT. They are not a good domination squad. So they really needed to win this map just to possibly see a map 5. And, well, those hopes are starting to dwindle away as UTK have fought back with a fury.
UTK 5 rounds straight, and again, that is just not a round that they should win. To be honest, I think RIT are going to be entirely unhappy with that one. But now, of course, they've got to play perfect search and destroy, just like they did in those first 2 rounds. And you need to see this from RIT here. Otherwise, they'll be 2-0 down in the series, and UTK will just be 1 map away from taking this one. Goosefabber is going to hit those early round snipes this time around onto Bota. Now RIT in a 4 versus 5. Make that a 3 versus 3 here as the kills are going down. Then it's up to Meeville and Stu going to respond quickly with that kill onto Slim. But still elsewhere, Condog takes out Spoot. And now a 2 versus 3. Super and Robstro here on the defense. They are playing together at the very least, but they are, of course, going to be over towards B. So they need to be very careful that this A push from UTK doesn't work out. I don't think UTK are aware of it just yet, but there is actually no one overlooking at this ace bomb site.
But Connor saw some information on the Supa. I don't know if that information is mutual or not. Supa pops a dead silence just to reposition on the backside of the hostile. And again, this was all made slowed by the simple fact that the bomb was dropped from UTK right outside the A site. Connor's essentially on a rogue mission here just to try to keep RIT guessing where this hit's going to come from. Robstro deals with him, and now all of a sudden, a position for Supa. He gets a couple of shots into the bomb carrier, but the bomb will be planted. Now it's about the post-plant versus the re-break. You're going to see ETK looking to play this from the backside. Robstro's going to cut this through the A house. And Supa's just going to wait for this pinch to be set up. I don't think they know necessarily where exactly C-Short is playing, but they do know that Goose is still playing on the A site. Here comes the hit. It's 2 individual 1v1. C-Short wins the first. Supa's only got a smoke to deal with. No dead silence again. He's got to make the play, though. 15 seconds. He needs to find a kill badly, and he won't be able to do it. UTK's individual gun skill rides them through the backside of this map to the tune of a 6-3 win on Arklov.
And I think that's kind of unfortunate there. You know, you talk about that final round of search and destroy play. You're in a 2 versus 3, and it's kind of like you need to make a decision. It's like, well, do we risk it? Do we split up and have one player at A, one player at B, and then, of course, kind of relying on heroic plays? Or do you play together and commit to one site? And I think they chose the latter option. Unfortunately for them, they didn't recognize the bomb was already down over towards A. And again, it just falls apart in the grand scheme of things. But we take a look at stats at the end of game number 2. Condog is the hero, I feel, for UTK. 11 kills to his name, 4 deaths. Not a bad performance whatsoever. The rest of the squad not doing too bad too. You know, C-Shot and Slim providing some great support with 8 kills apiece. On the other side of things, I don't think there's really anybody who you could really, you know, pick out and say, look, they played terribly, because I think everyone was sort of in the same ballpark at least. Like Robstro was definitely the weakest player on the lineup there in that game, especially after, you know, not peaking up in round number 1. But still, it does happen sometimes. And again, I think for this RIT squad at this point in time, you just got to put that to the back of your mind and move on to what will be map number 3, 100-yard domination.
And this is where things get scary. Tennessee. This is their most played domination. They are a better domination team than RIT, and that's just not what you want to hear. Yes, you could take a look at the stats if you're kind of following along at home at all. RIT technically do hold a 3-1 record on this map, but the 3-1 came against no playoff teams in the Northeast. So consider that essentially wins that you should be finding. On the opposite side, versus playoff teams, Tennessee, sure, on this map are just 1-3, but it only comes at the tune of a minus 13-point differential, which is not bad at all, considering that they were playing in the Southeast. Most notably, they held Georgia Southern to just a 2-point margin when they last played this one midway through their regular season. While things are kind of moving through, though, again, this is just one of many matchups that'll be happening throughout the day here in day number 2. If you're joining us here late, we'll take a look back as far as what happened in day number 1 to freeze things up to what we're going to be seeing in the early parts of today in day number 2. Again, we started things off with actually what was the Northeast and Southeast, but here on the top side of the bracket, it's the West and the Midwest. Again, mostly what you would have anticipated. The big standout was the Illinois Orange squad had a very difficult time getting past Oregon. It was a map 5 situation, of which Illinois was obviously able to take the 5th map, but a little bit more convincingly, their search and destroy, which has been not necessarily a strong point for them, carried them through as they took map 2 and map 5 in this one. But beyond that, the only real big upset in the top side of the bracket was the Grand Canyon University, the Lopes out of Grand Canyon, were able to take down Bowling Green State in a very competitive game, to be completely candid with you all. That was a 3-1 there. Everything else going pretty much as you would have expected. But as we go down to the bottom side of the bracket, again, you'll see it here quickly. This top grouping of 4 was where a lot of interesting things had happened. Arkansas kept Humber relatively tight in a 4-game series. Lebanon Valley, though, able to surprise Alabama in a very convincing 3-0, where none of the maps were all that close. But then you also had at the very bottom side of the bracket, a very big upset as the University of Louisiana Lafayette were able to take a 4th map win versus Rutgers Scarlet to send them packing to a very early entrance into losers round 1, which is where most of our broadcast coverage will occur throughout the early parts of the day before we jump back to the winners bracket. So if we take a look at our losers bracket here, we're essentially dealing with, of course, the current live match versus UTK and RIT. But the Bravo stream will be kicking up here relatively soon with a couple more matchups as we go. And I think where we'll be heading most of our broadcast coverage, at least for the mainstream, we will be taking a look at that UT Arlington versus Northern Iowa game. But again, we talked about it at the top of the day here, Brody, and still stands out, and it still surprises me even looking at it. Rutgers Scarlet versus Maryland in a losers round 1 matchup. Not at all what you wanted to see if you're a Scarlet Knight fan.
No, not at all. I think, 8th seed coming into this tournament, Rutgers Scarlet is what they have to get to round number 5 to even live up to that seed at the grand scheme of things. So that's going to be a very, very long losers bracket run to work through if you are Rutgers Scarlet. So at the end of the day, it's not all that big of a deal, but still, I think, losing that very first match against Louisiana Lafayette, I think that really does change things for Rutgers Scarlet. So we'll keep an eye on them as the bracket does progress, of course. What we start up, losers round 4, of course, May 15th. So, you talk about losers round 2 and losers round 3, we will actually see how Rutgers Scarlet progress. I mean, maybe they just have a bad weekend, right, Shift? I mean, again, I didn't actually see that match against Louisiana Lafayette, but, for all the talk about saying that we've got the 8th seed now in the losers bracket, maybe they just have a bad weekend. Maybe they come out and get double rounded, and this could be an incredibly, close weekend for them. It might not go well.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when they played Maryland, in the regular season, last we had them, it was the map 4, of which all 3 respawns were very, very tight. That game could have gone 5, if not the other way, in favor of Maryland. So don't sleep on that Rutgers-Maryland game. There very well could be a major upset in the works there for not just a first loss for Rutgers, but potentially a second. As Maryland, we watched them on stream yesterday. They didn't look bad when they played Louisiana, pardon me, not Louisiana Lafayette. They played Louisiana Tech. In another game that just went 3, but there were some good moments from them in the hard point specifically. So a lot can happen here. We're ready to go, though, I believe, with our Hackney Yard domination for map number 3. And again, my hopes have dwindled significantly for RIT. To force a reverse sweep versus UTK, I think would be a stretch, considering the fact that University of Tennessee is not just a good team, but they're a very good domination team, and they're still going to likely get what I believe is their pick of the Hackney Yard for map number 4 with that hard point in the mix. So it's going to be tough for RIT to come back into the mix for this one. But if they have to do it, obviously it has to start now. So pick yourself up by your bootstraps, put your big point pants on, and Get ready to go back to the yard down. That has to happen. It has to come through right now. Otherwise, you're out of the playoffs and your CCL Season 2 run will be terminated here. It's elimination match.
Yeah, of course. This is, as you say, it's for elimination, Hackney Yard domination. And I think, on a wider point here, the mindset of this RIT squad is not going to be good. They were 3-0 up in the Search and Destroy. It was 6 rounds back to back to back to back to back to back. It just wasn't good. And I think, straight away, I think you lose those first 3 and it's not too bad. But then what? You talk about the next 3 and it's just like your mindset slowly slips away. And these aren't pro teams as well. I think that's what you're going to point out. These teams are not going to have pro mindsets where they can have those situations and bounce back. It is going to affect teams at this level. And I think that, to me, is going to be one of the, I think, the bigger talking points for RIT in this Hackney Yard domination is if they can bounce back. I mean, maybe they come out and absolutely dismantle UTK here, and that would be just incredible.
I feel like you have to, right? I mean, you have to.
Yeah, I feel like maybe this isn't going to be the best situation for RIT, but that to me is going to be the big test. I mean, can you put that to the back of your mind? Can you say, look, we were 3-0 up in the Search and Destroy. Yes, we lost it. Let's just move on. Let's get into the Hackney Yard and let's dominate.
Yeah, has to be the case, but I believe we're still partially waiting on our lobby to get set up. So instead of us kind of talking through and just vamping for as long as possible to throw things to a small break. I believe our lobby is actually getting populated, so never mind. We'll just kind of stay here for now. It's just the way it goes in broadcasting. Yeah. It's just the way it is. The one thing that I'm kind of interested about here, though, is, as we move through this bracket, again, we are trying to cater as best as we possibly can to the players that are participating in the Challengers Cup that's happening today.
Yeah.
Things are going to get hot really quickly. We were talking about in the prediction stream, Brody, when we were looking at the difference between winning your winners round 2 and losing your winners round 2, what that does for your potential round. Teams that we think could potentially finish top 4, if they lose in winners round 2, which is plausible, I've got them essentially finishing top 12 because the caliber of opponents that you're going to be facing up through continually in the losers bracket will be extremely difficult. Again, we've got a lot of powerhouses in the mix. So it's just going to be interesting, I think, to see what exactly occurs throughout the day today to kind of set up our second weekend. And that's the other kind of follow-up point. We do have a second weekend in the mix. It'll be May 15th and May 16th to complete from essentially the top 12 on. So we're dealing with essentially top 32 to top 16 finishers throughout the day today. And, well, anything can happen. That's kind of the biggest mantra that I can come through at the CCL playoffs is anything can happen.
Yeah, we've still got a fair few matches today, actually, Shift. So it's definitely going to be very interesting, of course, as the day goes on, how much more competitive these matches actually get, of course, because we're not going to be progressing just the losers bracket, but we are going to be progressing the winners bracket also. I think those winners round 2 matches will be going on very shortly if they haven't already been completed. I believe one has already actually. So I've actually took a look at the bracket and one has already been completed. But yeah, beyond that, it's going to be very interesting to see how this, I guess, this series gets underway. That being said, I believe we have our series getting underway right now. I think map number 1 is loading in. So without any further ado, let's get into Hackney Yard domination for what would normally be the swing game in the series. But at this point, you have RIT Esports. Their backs are well and truly against the wall. UTK, they came back in that search and destroy. Let's see if they can continue that kind of form here as we go into what could be the final map in the series.
And for RIT, you're spawning on the bad side first. So you've got to find a way to have a solid first half here.
Oh, God.
Either reducing the margin or finding an opening break. Well, that's not going to happen. As Slim has found 3. He's lining up a potential force, gets gunned by Robstro. But again, for RIT, take your time here. You got to find a way to set something up. This is where things can get chaotic very quickly when you're getting individually gunned across the map from north to south. A couple of gunfights do turn up in favor of the Tigers, so now an opportunity for them to start making their way into the warehouse. Stu has found his way onto the barrels and now into the garage. Almost gets a gunfight win versus Condog on close and personal, who will eventually be traded. And Meevil, who's actually locking things down from Smokestack, will open up another opportunity for RIT to at least neutral be here early.
And this is a bit of an odd strategy from RIT Esports. So they're doing what we call like sort of a force straight through B approach. So Hackney Yard domination, for those of you who are kind of unaware, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people in the chat here will be aware of the way Hackney Yard domination plays. It is a very unique map. It is in a way of sort of saying that A spawns are so heavily favored on this map. If you have control of A, you can essentially control AB very much easier than you can to just break it, right? But RIT Esports, they've done something a little bit weird. They went straight through B. They tried to force their way through to the A spawns. Unfortunately for them, they've now just seen the downside of doing that, which is that it is very easy for B to be broken back by the team that does hold those A spawns. So that's exactly what's happened here. I think sooner or later you're going to start to see RIT change their strategy and go for those A spawns instead, and then go to B. As it currently stands, though, they're still going for this 4 straight for B strat.
Yeah, and it actually works out okay because Beeple actually snuck his way through the defensive line of UTK and got a neutral at A, which again, once you get a neutral on the home flag, you're turning all of the attention of your opponent back towards that flag. So it gives them an opportunity for numbers advantages in the warehouse. That turns into a B neutral. Condog wasn't sure if he wanted to make that trophy safe or not. We'll actually find Con1 before he essentially plays catch with Super for a moment, and UTK have restabilized themselves as not only do they hold the A side spawns, but they've retaken the B warehouse convincingly.
UTK esports now going to be tying this game up. They will actually, of course, take the lead here once again as they get control of A and B once more. And again, that's what the second or third failed attempt for RIT to make something good of B. What I will say so far, though, Shift, is we are, what, 2 minutes 30 and a half, and RIT have done a great job of not letting this one slip away from them. They do not have the favorable spawns, and that is a good thing for RIT. And maybe we're starting to see just a bit of a reason why they are actually good at this map before coming in 3-1 record in the regular season here on Hackney Yard Domination. You can kind of see that they know how to play this map. They know how to play this team close when they do not have the favorable spawns. And they look like they're about to take B once again. They're just forcing their way through time and time again, winning all the relevant gunfights. They will secure B off the back of this push. And all right, yeah, sure, they are 8 points down, but they'll find those ticks within what will be 20 seconds.
This is a big moment right here for RIT. You're seeing one member for UTK has made their way over to C, but there should be numbers for RIT to push through, but everyone just stops. Why are we stopping? The whole idea, if you're going to win the warehouse like that and you know someone's on the backside of C, you've got a numbers advantage in front of you. Now everyone's going to spawn up by the office, and RIT's going to actually make that OE hit that you were talking about a minute ago. And with that, they will win a couple of gunfights, but not the entire team is committing to this play. A couple members will actually fall back towards C to re-corral the C flag, and now all of a sudden, you're looking at number 8. Stu is by himself on an island. He's got no chance of any kind of help. RIT will eventually fall on the A flag. They're going to have numbers to try to re-hit this B warehouse, but again, they're not going to be able to neutral and put this flag in time before the reinforcements for UTK get here. So one small thing leads to another big moment, and that's the biggest thing about domination. For those of you guys at home that maybe don't enjoy watching Dom necessarily or don't necessarily fully understand the map, think about it in the game of chess. You have to sacrifice some things to make movement somewhere else, and RIT just doesn't seem to want to sacrifice their home flag as they keep falling back to it, even though they have numbers to potentially full swing the map.
Yeah, that's the key thing here. I think, you've got to know when to just give up your C flag. I don't know why you bother defending it, right? Yeah, I think you definitely are kind of, I guess you're risking the potential of getting trip cap, but you could put all effort. You could go all in on an AB setup. That hasn't happened. I think finally it has done. RIT now going for the trip cap in the last 25 seconds of time. They, of course, will win at least C and B control, and they'll make this very close in terms of ticks.
Yeah.
So there's the 4-point difference right now. I feel like as we tick over, that will be a 1-point difference in the grand scheme of things. If my math doesn't fail me, it probably does. I'm not the best mathematician in the world. But RIT Esports, off the back of this one shift, going to look very, very close. As a matter of fact, they're going to tie things up. I don't know if there's any neutralizations coming in, but RIT will tie this game up at half, and that's a big win. Although it doesn't really look like it at face value. 77-77, not spawning on the good side of the map is a big, big scoreline to come into the second half of play, where you will spawn on the better side of the map here on Hackney Yard Domination.
And as critical as we had a moment there for RIT, for UTK, the general sense was you're going for OE hits to neutralize the C flag at not the most ideal times. That's why that scoreline stays in a draw, because you're going for an OE hit when you're still defending your A side. You're not able to get that B flag. So the timings are just a touch off there for UTK as far as how to best, properly, and most efficiently play through that AB-sided hold. And how about this? Big risk coming through for UTK. They're going to full stack for the OE, which will mean that RIT will get a free flag at B, and Robstra with this AR will very wisely say, hey, no one's hitting me at the warehouse. Let me make sure nobody's hitting through the forklift side, and he takes care of a couple. And this is not what you want for UTK. They're all in on this A-sided hit, and it's not paying out yet.
Oh, maybe it will, though. Gooseflower gets an important 2-piece over towards the A flag, and as you say, it's not paying out. It finally does. The spawns flip, and that is a big moment in the grand scheme of things. RIT, of course, were not able to do it to UTK on the first half. This time, UTK off the right of the second. I think that's a big moment in this game, because I feel like, for me, talk about what was essentially happening at the half, where it was 77 to 77. RIT and UTK now essentially flip spawns, and RIP are right back to where they were. They no longer have those favorable spawns, but they do currently have control of C and B. And oh my word, I'm going to stop talking, guys, because I feel like all the RIT fans in the chat are going to hate me.
And you're just this building up the caster curse queue for the day. I think at the moment. You're taking care of it so we don't have to deal with it later. We'll just say that. UTK, again, they're trying to fight out this scrappy battle in the warehouse. Looks like they're doing a pretty solid job of doing just that. But there has been a little bit of a split pressure here for RIT as a couple members spawn yellow, a couple members spawn office. And how about this? UTK will actually spawn out towards C simply due to the fact that number 8 and number 9 and Stu and Meevil have put themselves on the aggressing side of what I like to call the 50-yard line. And with that, there will actually be a given spawn flip here as RIT will take over the A side of the map.
Oh no, and I have a feeling, just look at the 3 players right now that are approaching on this B side. It all's going to come down to Condog inside the B flag, and they need to essentially waste time here. If you're a UTK, you currently don't have the advantage, but you do have C, you have B. Oh my god, I thought C-Shot was about to get turned on there. I would have had cried on the stream, but it doesn't happen as UTK now holding C, they're holding B. Now they're going to lose that C flag. This is an opportunity for UTK to make something of this. You need to force your way through. You cannot just sit in the B flag. You need to go right now towards A. Bota deals with C-Short, though, and RIT here are successfully holding a C-A setup. UTK are essentially being bullied into the mid flag, but that one gunfight being lost could really change things shift, because once again, A flag is going to UTK.
Robstro, give up the C flag and just make your way back over to A. I'm going to lose full. I am absolutely going to lose full. This right here is the reason why RIT lose this map. UTK had no business at all reflipping this A side flag, but because so many members of RIT spawn up at the office and say, hey, I think they're about to hit our C-sided flag, they all lean that direction, and UTK, Christmas comes early. They get a free gift of a spawn behind A, and now all of a sudden we're below 2 minutes. UTK in possession of an AV hold, and they're zoning it much better than they had previously in the first half. They're watching the hits from yellow. They're watching the hits from office. And now all of a sudden they find a favorable kill feed. They could potentially push through for a C neutral to put this one away. It's a 131-131. We've got 90 seconds to play, and all of the pressure has just been thrown into RIT's corner.
Do not risk it. I think that's what I'd say, to be honest, to what you just said there, Shift. Of course, you're right in saying that RIT, of course, could lose that C flag with some pressures from UTK, but don't risk it. You need to hold this AV setup. It is so crucial. But now, here we go. UTK going to get flanked in from behind. What a great wave of kills there from RIT as they get control of B. They flip the spawns potentially with 2 players over towards A. And there we go. Meevil is going to pick that one up. Brilliantly played from RIT as they flip the spawns. A and B going to go their way. But this game is so close. Still, there's 6 seconds in it between these 2 teams, and we have 50 seconds left on the clock. RIT now losing all 3 flags to UTK. This is domination from this UTK side.
It's close. They don't fully have the B flag captured. It comes down to this 1v1 in the back. Robstro, he has to win this 1v1. Absolutely needs to and does not. 147-138, and the margin is not going to be good for RIT. You need a B flag. You need it now. Plus, you're going to need a neutral. 30 seconds left to play, and mathematically, we are about to hit the point where RIT will not be able to fully come through. And oh boy,
wow,
there were some just mistakes as far as the in-game decisions in key moments for RIT. Again, just too much investment over the C flag. At the end of the day, I mean, Domination 101 Infinity, what is the more preferred side of the map? If the answer is
100%.
If the A flag, give up C. You don't want it. You don't need it. You don't need to defend against it if your team is pushing to the other side. And tough moments there as RIT will not fully be able to get the job done, even in regard of having a good first half, keeping things even, not fully able to convert things on the back half of this one, and UTK will find themselves a 3-0.
I think one thing for sure, right, with UTK and RIT, specifically relating to this Hackney Yard domination, I think we definitely got a visual there of exactly why these teams aren't the best in domination, right? I think that much is very clear. There were some serious mistakes on both sides, right? UTK and RIT at various moments in the game were not playing Hackney Yard domination as it should be played. And I will actually go out on a limb here and say I think UTK are very, very lucky to walk away with a scoreline like that. If it wasn't for that trip cap in the last 60 seconds, the scoreline would not look like this, and they could even be looking down the barrel of what would be an RIT win and still looking to be playing Hackney Yard hardpoint. I don't know, man. I just saw so many plays in that game that was incredibly dodgy individually and as teams. I will say one thing for sure, though. I think if UTK didn't do what they first did right off the bat, which is just leave A or leave C and leave B and just go straight for those A spawns, things look very different because they flipped the spawns right off the bat. And I think that sent RIT in a little bit of a run that they otherwise wouldn't have had, because you think going into the half there on Hackney Yard domination, RIT had played great. Not perfect Hackney Yard domination, but they played really, really great. They played what was a bad situation, of course, because you're immediately disadvantaged by not spawning on A. To coming to the second half with a tie, that to me, I think, says a lot about the fact that RIT ended up losing that map.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate going to be the end of it. But I want to take a moment here to break down what exactly went wrong, maybe early here, for the side of UTK, as we're trying to introduce a little bit of a clip report card evaluation for you guys here. This was the very beginning of the second half, as we're just hoping that everything comes through clearly here in just a moment. We delay. But the clip that we're trying to bring up for you guys was this off-the-rip strategy from UTK. Again, we saw early on, there we go. We saw early on, this is the play that's set up for UTK off the rip. We'll do them in yellow here as they make their play. From the C side of the map, you're going to see 3 members hit an OE this direction. This is risky for a number of reasons. The first being the fact that you hit this very properly throughout the entirety of the map here, Brody. The distance between A and B is just so short. The team from A is going to get here first. So while they start to read that, hey, no one's coming through these windows, the only thing they have to do is put an AR up top to watch the flank and one up close to make sure that the OE is completely safe. And you're going to see this essentially occur as we break things down once more, mostly from the perspective of Robstro. Everything is going on this 3-man hit from the warehouse. And as soon as Robstro finds this first kill, this is that moment where all of a sudden everybody from RIT sits there and says, hey, no one's coming from yellow. This is a free capture for us here on the B flag. And with that, all we have to do is make sure they're not hitting the OE. They get a little bit of extra information because Meevil number 9 has fallen. And again, this is a high risk, very usually low reward play, simply due to the fact for UTK, you have to break this. Otherwise, you've given up not just potentially both flags early, but you're actually going to force yourself to spawn in the worst place possible, which is the office that's coming back through this direction. The fortunate thing is the trades do actually turn up relatively okay in their favor. So as this one plays out, UTK will get some influence over towards A, but again, it comes at a pretty steep cost. And Brody, that's my biggest thing about that OE play. If you don't find first blood here, you have to essentially cut back the middle of the map to try to put some pressure over towards that B flag. Otherwise, you're in a tough spot. And typically speaking, you're going to be down 2 flags very early on from the bad side of the map.
Yeah, I think the thing is there, I feel like that was a great play from UTK. It doesn't actually work out initially, as you broke it down, it didn't work out straight away. They were actually very lucky to filter through only a few seconds later and actually win some more gunfights to take control of that A flag and then, of course, flip the spawns and put RIT in a bad spot. But again, I think, on the grand scheme of things there, at the end of that series, there were a few risky plays that otherwise don't work out. I mean, across the entirety of the series, that was relatively close, right? I mean, it is a 3-0, but I don't think that necessarily says just how close some of these maps actually were. Of course, you talk about RIT, they started up 3-0 in Search and Destroy. They ended up losing 6-3, but still, those 3 rounds, RIT were looking pretty good. And I think that goes for multiple moments in the series. RIT did show some serious promise, and it is kind of unfortunate they fall out in top 32.
Yeah. It's very, very unfortunate. Like you mentioned, top 32 as a full. Now, as we go further forward, the next match we're supposed to be bringing out to you guys is the University of Louisiana Lafayette versus Louisiana Tech. But I think there are some issues regarding, are they going to be able to play that on time? Or are we just going to bounce to something else that's most available to us? Most of the day today will be whatever's available, we'll jump into. So we'll try to keep you guys updated as far as what match we're going to go into next. Again, the plan is to go to that winners round 2 matchup between Louisiana Lafayette and Louisiana Louisiana Tech. But we'll see exactly what occurs, as again, the schedule is going to be a little bit mismatched as we have the Challengers Cup going on right now, and a handful of our players are participating in both. So for now, we'll send things to a break. Hopefully we won't be away for too long. And when we come back, we've got more day 2 CCL playoffs coming up after this.